So let's go talk about polynomial and rational inequalities. Let's talk about polynomial inequalities first. Let f of x be a polynomial. A polynomial inequality is of the form, there are four of them. What do you notice about all four of those on the right-hand side of the inequality? You have to have a zero. So you have to have the polynomial on the left, an inequality symbol in the middle, and a zero on the right. Now it can have any one of the four inequality symbols: less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. But what's important is that you have to have zero on the right. Got it? Okay, how do we solve a polynomial inequality? First thing you want to do, rearrange the terms so that zero is on the right-hand side. Second thing, find the real solutions if you set the polynomial equal to zero. Are we going to use a previous tool that we've obtained? Set the polynomial equal to zero and solve for x. Find the real zeros. You're going to plot those real zeros on a number line and then determine if the solutions are included or excluded, and then determine the sign of each interval on the number line and get your answer. So let's actually go do it and see what the process looks like. For this first one, solve 2x times quantity x minus 1 less than 21 minus x. First thing you've got to do is get 0 on the right. So let's go do that. We need to distribute, and we get 2x squared minus 2x less than 21 minus x. We need to add x to both sides, exactly. And we get 2x squared minus x less than 21. And then subtract 21 from both sides. 2x squared minus x minus 21 less than 0. Everybody with me up to that? All right. Now we need to go find the solutions to 2x squared minus x minus 21 equals 0. Y equals, because that's what it tells me to do here in step 2. Find solutions of f of x equals 0. Okay? So how do we do that? We've been working on this all week, last week. I'm going to tell you to cheat and go plug in the polynomial into y equals and look for your real x-intercepts. So I'm going to pause. I've typed it into my y equals, and I go hit graph. It looks like I have 2 x-intercepts. Do you agree? What are you going to guess that this one is?
-3.
I'm going to guess -3, so I'm going to hit trace, -3, enter. It tells me my y value is 0. That's a good thing. What's another guess? Maybe 3.5, 7/2. So if I hit trace, 7/2, yes. Okay, so back on my notes, I'm going to graph -3, 7/2, something like this. And I'm going to tell you on my calculator, I verified -3 and 7/2 were indeed x-intercepts. If I were trying to factor this polynomial, do you know what the factors would be? 2x minus 7 and x plus 3. If you don't believe me, FOIL it, and you better get this once you FOIL. If I set both factors equal to 0 and solve for x, I do get what corresponded to my x-intercepts. Okay, go do a number line. Put those zeros on your number line. I will tell you, I frequently don't put the smaller numbers on the left. I swap the numbers up. Don't do that. Make sure you put them in the correct order. -3, 7/2. Okay, this was my original inequality when I got 0 on the right-hand side, correct? Look at the symbol. I want just less than. Just less than or just greater than correspond to open circles. So I'm going to tell you over here I need to go do open circles on those zeros. They're open circles because there's no equal to here. If there had been an equal to, I would have filled those circles in. Okay, on your number line, how many intervals do you see? 3. Pick a number in each one of those intervals. I'm going to pick -4, 0, and 4. Sure. Go to your calculator and go find what the y values are for each one of those x values. So on my calculator, I'm going to hit trace, -4, enter. What do I get? 15. That's a positive number. Do you agree? Put a plus over that part of the number line. If I type in 0, trace, 0, enter. -21. I'm going to put a negative sign up there. X equals 4. Trace, 4, enter. 7 is my y value. That's a positive number. Go back to your inequality here. I want less than. Those correspond to negative numbers, correct? Where on your number line do you have negatives? In the middle. So your answer to this problem is going to be -3 with a parenthesis, comma, 7/2 with a parenthesis. Questions? What's the purpose? I'm trying to solve this inequality, right? What x values make that true is the question. First thing I had to do is get it where 0 was on the right. Then I had to set it equal to 0, solve for x, put those numbers on my number line, and then go pick numbers in between on those intervals, plug it back into the original polynomial, see if I get a plus or minus, and then look at the original polynomial. Since I wanted the numbers that were less than 0, those go with the negatives. So that interval makes that original statement true. Okay? Let's go do it again. Okay, here we go. I need to get 0 on the right-hand side. So that means I need to add 4x cubed to both sides. And I need to subtract 3x squared from both sides. So I will have x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 3x squared minus 18x greater than or equal to 0. Everybody with me? If I plug that into my calculator in y equals, and I hit graph, what do you think your zeros are going to be? -3, 0, and 2? -3, 0, and 2. And it looked something like that. Do you agree? Okay, I'm going to remind myself my x-intercepts. Let's go check and make sure. Trace -2. Oh, wait a minute. Should have been -3. Yes. Yep, -3. 0. 0, 0, yep. And 2. 2, 0. Yes. If I were to factor this polynomial, what would my factors be? Can you tell by just looking at that graph? X plus 3, x minus 2, and then just an x. What do you think about the x plus 3, x minus a -3? It's going to be squared. Why? It has an even multiplicity of 2, because it just comes down and touches the x-axis there, as opposed to crossing. Now, I don't like it written this way. I'm going to write it as x minus 2, x plus 3 squared equals 0. Now, if you wanted to go check that and make sure those were your zeros, you could go do synthetic division, correct? What am I talking about? I could go pull out a 0 with my coefficients. 1, actually, let's go pull out a 2. 1, 4, -3, -18, 0. You agree? You could go do that. You'd get a remainder of 0. You could pull out a -3. You'd get a remainder of 0. You could pull out another -3, and then you could pull out a 0. Everybody with me? I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste the time because I have that graph. Okay, if I set all those factors equal to 0, I indeed get x equals 0, x equal 2, and x equal -3. Go do a number line. I need to put those three numbers on my number line. -3, 0, and 2. I already have this into my calculator, right? I need to go pick values for x that are in each of these each of those 4 intervals. Give me some numbers. X equal -4, x equal -2, x equal 1, and x equal 3. Go to your calculator and see if those are positive or negative numbers for your y values. So trace -4, enter. I get 24, which is a positive number. If I type in -2, I get 8, which is a positive number. If I type in 1, I get -16, which is a negative number. And if I type in 3, I get 108, which is a positive. Okay, go back and look at your original inequality symbol, greater than or equal to 0. All those black numbers were where it was what? Equal to 0? So do we want those this time? Yep, we're going to put filled in circles. And the reason they're filled in is because we have that equal to there. Now we want all the numbers that are greater than 0 as well. Those correspond to the pluses. So we want this piece, and this piece. So what's your answer going to be? Negative infinity, with a parenthesis always, to 0 with a bracket, union, bracket, 2 to infinity with a parenthesis. Okay, Roman numeral 3. Those aren't printed on your notes, so jump down to a blank piece of paper. Go solve x minus 9 times 5x plus 1 less than 0. So I put it on my calculator under my y equals. I go graph it. I've already got 0 on the right hand side. If I set it equal to 0 and solve for x, I get x equals 9, or x equals negative 1/5. If I put those numbers on my number line, negative 1/5, 9, I need to pick values in between on all three of those intervals. Maybe negative 2, 0, and 10. I go to my calculator, I type in trace negative 2, I get positive 99 for my y value. I put a plus sign up here. I type in 0 for my x value, I get negative 9. I'm going to put a negative up top. And last, I hit trace 10, enter, I get 51, which is a positive. Go back up to your inequality. Do I want the zeros, x equal negative 1/5 and x equal 9? No, because there's no equal to. There's no equal to here, so these are going to be open. Less than symbol corresponds to negative numbers, so I want this piece. My answer will be negative 1/5 with a parenthesis to 9 with a parenthesis.